Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening from. Welcome. I want to speak into your life today about something we all desire, but often struggle to hold on to. Real, lasting, sustained change. Let's get real for a minute. How many of us have started a new habit, turned a new leaf, written a new goal, only to find ourselves sliding right back into old patterns? We've all been there. So the question is not just, how do I change? The question we've got to ask is, how do I sustain that change? Change begins with conviction, not convenience. Right arrow. Real change is birthed from internal conviction, not external conditions. Let me tell you something right now. Change that lasts, real change, the kind that breaks generational curses, shifts mindsets, sets captives free. That kind of change doesn't start when life is easy. It doesn't begin when the timing is perfect or when the stars align. Real change starts when your soul gets stirred with conviction. You can't wait for convenience, because convenience will tell you, wait until Monday. It'll whisper after the holidays. It'll lie to you when things calm down, then you'll start. But the devil is not afraid of your intentions. He's terrified of your conviction. See, you don't break out of the cycle until something inside of you says, I'm done living like this. That's the moment everything shifts. That's the moment where your internal cry for transformation becomes louder than the excuses that have been keeping you bound. Conviction is when the pain of staying the same outweighs the fear of stepping into something new. That's when God starts working. That's when heaven leans in. God doesn't need your situation to be perfect. He needs your heart to be postured. Are you hearing me? The Israelites didn't leave Egypt because the timing was ideal. They left because something in them said, we can't stay slaves any longer. Nehemiah didn't rebuild the wall because it was a strategic season. He did it because something broke his heart when he saw the ruins. He was convicted. He couldn't look away. And you won't change your habits, your mindset, your lifestyle until you let the Holy Spirit stir that fire in you. Stop waiting for things to line up. Start listening to what God is birthing in your spirit. Because sometimes the most powerful moment is not when things get easier. It's when you get fed up. When you say, enough is enough. I refuse to waste another day chained to a version of me that God never designed. That's when change ignites. Not in the noise of the crowd, but in the whisper of your calling. You think you need a plan? No, you need a reason. A holy reason. A purpose bigger than your comfort. Because convenience creates excuses, but conviction. Conviction creates momentum. It gets you up when your body's tired. It moves you forward when fear says stay. Conviction doesn't ask for permission. Conviction gives you permission to change, to grow, to break through. Consistency over intensity, right arrow. Lasting change is sustained by daily disciplines, not occasional inspiration. Everybody wants to change, but not everybody wants to be consistent. We chase the spark, we crave the fire, but when the fire fades, we fall back. Let me tell you something. It's not the big moments that change your life. It's the small, unseen, uncelebrated choices you make over and over again. You don't need another emotional high. You don't need a once in a lifetime encounter. You need the discipline to keep showing up when the feelings are gone. Real transformation is not the result of one big leap. It's the result of daily steps. That's why I'm telling you today, consistency is greater than intensity. You see, intensity is sexy. Intensity makes noise. Intensity says, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. and crush this. And then 3 days later it says, this is too hard. But consistency whispers, even if I don't feel it today, I'm still going to show up. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't post for the gram. It just works in the dark when nobody's watching, when nobody's cheering. That's the kind of rhythm that builds legacy. That's the kind of faithfulness God honors. Look at Jesus. He didn't come to earth and perform one miracle and then disappear. He walked, he prayed, he taught. Day after day, he lived with people, he healed, he served for 33 years, faithfully, quietly, consistently, and we want to change our lives in a weekend. Come on. That's not how God works. He's not interested in your flashes of energy. He's building endurance in you. He's teaching you how to run your race when the crowd is gone and the lights are off. You want to be better. You want to grow. You want to see fruit. Then water your seed every day. Even when it looks like nothing's changing. Even when it feels like it's taking too long. God isn't moved by how loud you start. He's moved by how long you stay. Don't confuse motivation with transformation. Motivation is a moment. Transformation is a mindset. It's not about doing a lot once. It's about doing a little daily. So don't beat yourself up because you're not where you want to be yet. Just ask yourself, did I show up today? Did I read? Did I pray? Did I love someone well? Did I obey what God told me to do? That's the real work. That's how change sticks, not in a roar, but in a rhythm. Identity drives behavior. Right arrow. You don't just change what you do. You change how you see yourself. You're trying to change your habits, but have you changed how you see yourself? Because you can't live consistently in a way that contradicts your identity. If deep down you still believe you're broken, you're going to behave like you're broken. If you believe you're unworthy, unloved, or just trying to get by, then every choice you make will align with that belief. That's why I'm telling you, if you want real, sustained change, you've got to stop just trying to change what you do and start transforming how you see who you are. The enemy doesn't just attack your behavior, he goes after your identity. That's why he came to Jesus in the wilderness and said, "If you are the Son of God." See, the enemy wasn't questioning Jesus' power, he was trying to confuse his position. Because if he can get you to question who you are, he can control what you do. But when you know who you are, when you know that you are chosen, called, redeemed, and set apart, you stop reaching for validation from broken places. You stop settling for cycles that don't serve your future. You walk like someone who's already free. This is why Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind," not the renewing of your behavior, not the renewing of your circumstances, your mind, because what you believe about yourself will set the ceiling for your progress. You can attend every seminar, read every book, make every resolution, but if your inner narrative is still stuck in shame, nothing on the outside will stick. You've been calling yourself a failure because you failed once. You've been carrying names that God never gave you, lazy, insecure, not good enough, but heaven calls you loved, strong, more than a conqueror. And until you embrace that, you will sabotage the change you're trying to build. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you fall to the level of your identity. So lift your identity. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. So stop trying to act different without believing different. You're not faking it. You're walking into who God already says you are. Speak it, declare it, write it on your mirror if you have to. Because when your identity shifts, your behavior will follow. When you believe you are free, you will stop living like you're bound. When you know you are loved, you will stop chasing what cannot satisfy. Change starts on the inside. Grace is greater than grit. Right arrow. Sustainable transformation leans on grace, not just human effort. You've been grinding. You've been pushing. You've been trying so hard to get it right, to hold it together, to change your life by sheer force of will. And I honor your effort. I really do. But I came to tell you something that might just set you free. Your grit can only take you so far. Your hustle is not your healer. Your discipline is not your deliverer. You cannot knuckle your way into lasting transformation. Because grit will get you started, but grace will carry you through. Listen to me. If grit was enough, we wouldn't burn out. We wouldn't give up. We wouldn't feel crushed every time we stumbled. But here's what grace says. Even when you fall short, you're still loved. Even when you mess up, you're not disqualified. Grace doesn't lower the standard. It lifts you back up when you miss it. Grace doesn't excuse sin. It empowers you to rise above it. That's why Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12:9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You know what that means. It means your weakness isn't a disqualifier. It's a setup for God to show off His strength. Some of y'all are walking around so exhausted, not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing it all without grace. You're leaning on your own ability. You're trying to fix spiritual problems with flesh tools. You're trying to sustain divine transformation with human strength. That's why it's not sticking. That's why it keeps slipping. Because grit without grace is just glorified pride. Grace is not passive. Grace is power. It's divine fuel for your journey. It's the reason you can get up again after the 7th fall. It's the reason you can face tomorrow even after you failed today. Grace says you're not starting over. You're starting from a place called mercy. That's why Hebrews 4:16 says we can approach the throne of grace boldly, to receive mercy and find help in our time of need. You don't have to hide your struggle. Bring it to God. Let Him meet you in it. Let Him strengthen you through it. This is not about proving yourself. This is about trusting the one who already proved Himself on the cross. His grace doesn't just save you, it sustains you. It walks with you. It covers you. And when your strength runs out, grace says, "Now let me carry you." Community fuels commitment. Right arrow real change is never sustained in isolation. It thrives in accountability. You keep trying to do it all by yourself, and I get it. You don't want to look weak. You don't want to depend on anybody. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe the people you counted on let you down. But let me speak this truth into your spirit right now. Real change does not survive in isolation. You can start alone, but you will not finish alone, because God designed transformation to grow in community. Let me ask you something. Who's in your circle? Who's calling you higher? Who's checking on you when the lights go off and the fire goes cold? Because if you surround yourself with people who are content with comfort, you'll sabotage your own progress. But if you walk with warriors, if you run with people who are chasing purpose like you, if you've got people who pray for you when you can't pray for yourself, you will not only survive, you'll thrive. Ecclesiastes 4:9 says, "Two are better than one. If one falls, the other can help him up." That means God never expected you to walk this road alone. You weren't made to fight silent battles. You weren't made to keep pretending you're okay while you're falling apart. You need someone who sees past your performance and speaks to your purpose. Someone who looks at your mess and still says, "You're called, you're chosen, let's get back up." You don't need an audience, you need allies. People who will hold your arms up when you're tired, like Aaron and Hur did for Moses. People who won't let you quit on your calling. People who don't just celebrate your mountaintops, but stand with you in the valley. This isn't about friendship, it's about spiritual survival. The enemy loves isolation because it leads to shame. But community leads to healing. James 5:16 says, "Confess your sins to one another and pray for each other so that you may be healed," not judged. Healed, and I know it's scary to open up. I know it takes courage to be vulnerable, but healing begins where hiding ends. So stop pretending, stop isolating, get into a small group, find a mentor, reach out to someone who's further along in the journey. Because when you're surrounded by the right people, you'll be reminded of who you are, even when you forget. And in those moments when your strength fails, their faith will carry you through. Faith sees the future while standing in the fight. Right arrow, you don't wait until things get easier to stay committed. You walk by faith, not by sight. You're waiting to feel strong before you move. You're waiting for the storm to pass before you step. You're waiting for the doubt to leave, the anxiety to calm, the fear to fade. And I get it. You want clarity. You want peace, but faith doesn't wait for comfort. Faith moves while it's still hard. Faith doesn't need full vision to take the first step. Faith says, even though I can't see the whole path, I trust the one who laid it. You want to know how to sustain real change. You stop relying on your feelings and start walking by faith, because feelings will lie to you. Feelings will say you're failing when you're actually growing. Feelings will tell you to quit when you're one step away from the breakthrough. But faith doesn't flinch in the fight. Faith stands its ground even when the ground is shaking. That's why Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5:7, we live by faith, not by sight. You don't need to see it to believe it. You believe it, and then you walk like it's already done. Let me tell you something powerful. God doesn't always remove the fire. He steps in with you. He didn't keep Daniel out of the lion's den. He shut the mouths of the lions inside it. He didn't stop the storm for Peter before he got out the boat. He called him to walk on the water in the middle of it. So stop waiting for ideal conditions to act. You can be in the fight and still have faith. You can be in the struggle and still keep stepping. Some of you are saying, I don't see any results yet. I'm doing the right things, but nothing's changing. Hear me. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. Faith is trusting that God is doing something beneath the surface. It's believing that your obedience is building a future you can't see yet. It's choosing to praise when it still hurts. It's choosing to show up when it still feels dark. You are not walking by sight. You are walking by promise. You are walking by the word God spoke over your life, even when nothing around you looks like it. Keep walking, keep believing, keep declaring, because faith isn't a feeling, it's a fight, and it's the fight that makes you strong.